crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind? Or
well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing?
The existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
So I think we're about to see something on the level of Epstein, Weinstein to the power of 10.
From members of the royal family to Grammy and Academy Award winners, we're breaking down all the A-list celebrities named in court docs against P. Diddy.
When you're talking about like really elite levels, the name of the game is blackmail. So they want something on you that they can hold over your head so they can basically own you and tell you what to do. And they film it. And then they own you. So that's what runs the whole system, basically. They want compromised people because they're easy to control. It's time that this comes out into the open because we are going to change the way everything works, because at the top levels of wealth, of power, the very top levels, these people are just sick and psycho. Look into the Rothschild family. Do some research. You heard it's cannibals. Yeah, there is cannibalism. That's the higher you go, the more sick it gets. Peterwood has been happening for a very long. Yes, it has. A very, very, very long time. And this is the thing. This is what really hurts about the situation, because a lot of people are kind of born into this. They grow up in it. They are abused. And through the abuse, especially as a child, you can break someone's subconscious mind. If you're not aware of any of this stuff, look into MK Ultra. Oh, Jimmy Savile. Yes, the royal family. Yeah. Jimmy Savile raped and murdered hundreds of kids over the course of 3 decades or longer. No one ever looked into it. And he hung out with the royal family. He was knighted. And the reason I want to talk about Jimmy Savile is because this guy, Mark Thompson, he runs the New York Times. Now, Mark Thompson was head of the BBC for years and years and years. They covered up allegations. They covered up abuse. They let him run rampant, and they just covered it up. So this guy, Mark Thompson, is at BBC, and then he goes over to the New York Times. Now think about it. If someone like that is running a giant media organization, what are they going to say? What are they going to tell you? Are they going to tell you the truth? No. No, they're not going to tell the truth. That's why when people say the news is fake, it's because it's run by these people who are into some very, 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 very sick stuff.
Because one of the things I asked him is, I said, I get it, but I don't get it. The children. You got to, I have such a problem with this. You got to explain this one to me. And he said, well, first of all, you're looking at it the wrong way. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, they don't define children the way you do. They don't define the world the way you do. The choices that you face are not their choices, right? They look at it completely differently. And I said, well, okay, so how do they look at it? And he said, for them, everything is defined by their one fundamental, all-consuming purpose. I said, which is what? He said, to defeat God, right? Because this is the moment. I mean, for them, it's about the real God. The true gods are them. and Satan there, right? And so he said,
Definitely
children are the closest thing on earth to God, because we are created in the image of God. And as you know, from the moment we're created, we haven't had time to be corrupted and to stray. So for them, the younger you are, the closer you are to God, the more pain they can inflict on God. So the more you can make a baby or a small child suffer, the greater your victory over God. And that is the only consideration for them. Outside of that doesn't exist.
This is Edward Alexander Crowley, also known as Aleister Crowley. He styled himself the wickedest man in the world. He believed himself to be the great beast, and he changed his name to Aleister Crowley so it would add up in both English, Hebrew, and Greek Kabbalah as 666. In 1904, Crowley had a communication with an extraterrestrial being named Iwas. And this being, through his wife, kind of a channeling type operation, brought forth a book that was called the Book of the Law in 1904. And this book declared that the slain and risen God had stepped off the throne, and that a new God, the crowned and conquering child, was taking his place. He was a brilliant genius. He could play 8 chess games blindfolded. He was an accomplished poet, mountaineer, painter, writer. He had so many Masonic degrees that you could fill up 5 pages of a book with them. This guy was probably the most highly honored Mason in the world. And he began doing rituals to bring forth this crowned and conquering child. And he began to start what he called the cult of the fascinating child. And in doing this, he uncovered, without knowing it, the royal secret of Masonry. And what happened was, a gentleman came knocking at his door after he published a book. And in this book, it was a book of poetry, and in the book he had made an allusion to something. And this guy, his name was Theodore Royce. He was a German occultist and the head of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, which stands for the Order of Eastern Templars. There's the Knights Templar again. And this Theodore Royce told Crowley that he had given away the greatest secret in occult history. And Crowley said, "What do you mean? I don't even understand it." So the guy promptly initiated him on the spot to the 9th degree of the OTO and then explained the secret to him. And you're about to learn what this secret is. The secret is that as a Mason, you are promised immortality. Where do they get their promise of immortality? Simply, the secret that Crowley uncovered, probably through demonic intervention, is the secret that this immortality is conveyed through tantric sex magic. And the kind of sex magic that we're talking about here, unfortunately, is a sexual violation of a little child. Crowley taught that the way you could live forever was by vampirizing little children sexually. And this, I apologize that this is so horrible, but Masons are doing this. Not all Masons, please understand me. Probably 1 in 100 knows about this. But this is a significant enough problem that I feel compelled to share it with you. This is why the Masons believe that they will live forever. They think every time they defile a little child, they steal some of that child's youth. What happens then is they believe that they are accessing alternate universes, alternate realities where they can become as gods. There is a belief that through this sexual perversion, they can access these tunnels into alternate universes, alternate realities. And the goal of this kind of magic is to find your own universe and become the god over that universe. And then once you're the god of this universe, you can start sucking the energy out of it. And you can use that energy through this child to live forever and ever and ever. I mean, this is such a problem that we are actually, I now know of 5 national support groups that are helping people that are survivors of Masonic ritual abuse.
What is vital to consider is the significance of what occurred after Crowley's death
and who follow these teachings wholly or in part.
Crowley had many followers. He had followers through his magical organization, the OTO, which still exists today. He also had people who were very interested in him, who carried on his tradition. For example, Timothy Leary, who people perceive as a guru, but he was also an illuminate of Thanateros, which is an offshoot of Crowley's kind of OTO and his magical practices. He copied a lot of Crowley's behaviors and what Crowley did. He attacked Christianity. He was a hedonist like Crowley. He visited the Great Pyramid of Cheops and stayed in there much like Crowley did. He also traveled to Algeria where Crowley emulated the magical practices or Enochian calls of John Dee and Edward Kelly. He carried Crowley's tarot deck wherever he went, and he actually he wrote a book called Confessions of a Hope Fiend, which is an inversion of two of Crowley's books called Confessions and Diary of a Dope Fiend.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.
L. Ron Hubbard said he was following on his tradition. He actually started his religion or his new age ideal church, the Church of Scientology, on the day that Crowley died in 1947. These people have a great influence on the world. There was Jack Parsons, who was the head of the Agape Lodge, which was the OTO lodge out in California, and his scribe was actually L. Ron Hubbard. Charles Manson was a member of the Solar Lodge, which is an offshoot of the OTO. So Manson was very knowledgeable about these kind of practices, and he had an immense influence upon the 60s. Alfred Kinsey visited Aleister Crowley's Abbey of Thelema, which was his kind of the inversion of a church that he had in Cefalù, Sicily, and very dark rituals took place there. There were also musical followers: Jimmy Page, David Bowie, Ozzy Osbourne. There's his ideas suffuse J.K. Rowling's books by Harry Potter. And I haven't read all of her books, but her movies and what I've seen, the references to Flood and Sirius, these are all highly occultic references that indicate that she knows quite a bit more than she's telling to the public. And these are books and movies that have been seen by billions of people. Ian Fleming was influenced by Crowley. He wrote the James Bond book. So it goes on and on. So they're still out here to get. There's a commonly understood reference to Crowley and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I was going to mention that. Of course, Crowley appears on the cover twice, didn't he? I know just once, but there's also the kind of a story about the intro to Sgt. Pepper's. It says 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play, and somebody told me that was a reference to Crowley. It was 20 years ago today that day that Crowley passed away. So 47 was when he died, and I guess the album came out in 67. So and Lennon himself was a known occultist. He would constantly go to occult bookstores in New York City, and had some of his writings, Imagine, and all these other songs and stuff reference a lot of occult subjects. So
Occult doctrines have led to the 1960s counterculture and led countless people down a path that has seen devastating results.
A lot of these bloodlines are Satanists. In fact, the major ones are all Satanists. And by that I mean they are into human sacrifice, human blood drinking, and all that other stuff, sacrifice of children. And it's been going on way back. And people have no problem with the fact that it was going, oh yeah, those ancients used to do that, and the Aztecs and all that stuff. But they can't expand that perception of the possible that it's still going on. It is massively going on. The fact is it was openly going on then it became unacceptable to the population in general, and it's gone on secretly ever since.
Another element of the Rothschilds, they are known for their involvement in a religion called Luciferianism or Satanism. Baroness Philippine Rothschild often wore jewelry that depicts the symbol of Satanism, a horn.